The skies are quite overcast at the landing site. Temperatures around 69 degrees. We're still waiting for video from the landing site. But the Soyuz has deployed its parachute, and everything is continuing to go as planned for an on-time touchdown just about 9 minutes and 40 seconds from now. The search and recovery forces at the landing site now confirm that they have the Soyuz in sight under its parachute. All of the events to this point have been a winner. Everything has gone according to schedule, and the crew, according to Sergei Prokopyev, the Soyuz commander, is feeling well. Just 8.5 minutes until touchdown. Now about 7 minutes until touchdown. Everything continuing on course. The chutes have been deployed for the Soyuz MS-23. It is gently descending under its large orange and white parachute. Search and recovery forces have the vehicle in sight. The Russian Mi-8 helicopters are circling the landing zone waiting for touchdown, at which point they will descend and land in sequential fashion to begin the process of arriving at the capsule and extracting the crew. And there's our first view of the Soyuz MS-23 under the chutes. 6 minutes until touchdown. This video is courtesy of Roscosmos. Soyuz descending at its normal rate of descent. Search and recovery forces are reporting back that everything is looking good from their perspective. There were some rain showers in the area earlier today. The Soyuz descending under a deck, several decks of broken clouds toward its touchdown point about 90 miles to the southeast of Zhezkazgan. Again, this video courtesy of Roscosmos from the landing site.
Inaudible.
Less than 5 minutes to go until touchdown. The extended mission of Frank Rubio, Sergei Prokopyev, and Dmitry Petelin is now in the home stretch. Once again, you're looking at the return of Frank Rubio, Sergei Prokopyev, and Dmitry Petelin after more than a year in space. Less than 4 minutes from touchdown on the desolate steppe of Kazakhstan. The parachutes deployed as planned at 6:03 a.m. Central Time. 3 minutes later, the Soyuz heat shield was jettisoned.
409. Confirm.
The next event will be just a second or two before touchdown. That'll be the firing of the soft landing engine. 6 engines fire to slow the Soyuz descent rate to just 1.5 meters per second.
Here. How do you read it? Inaudible. We observe you. We have a visual. How do you read us here? 495, 553.
Search and recovery forces communicating directly now with Sergei Prokopyev, saying that they have a good visual on the spacecraft. Just over 2 minutes until touchdown.
It has been 1,000 meters. We are not able to connect with them in audio yet. We can hear them, they are not hear us yet. It has been 1,000 meters. We hear them, they are not.
Less than 1,000 meters from touchdown.
So we are looking for the 20th and 52nd minute. Plus 9 atmospheric bias. Plus 18 index point 1. The crew is feeling well.
Sergei Prokopyev continuing to provide reports back to the search and recovery forces, indicating that the crew is doing well. Just over a minute until touchdown.
The crew is doing well. Let them know. Cosmos 9549. For your information, the object has passed 500 meters and feeling well. 690 is altitude.
The search and recovery helicopters are circling the landing zone. We might see one of those helicopters come into view shortly, as the Soyuz is less than 500 meters off the ground.
We have come with the crew and they're feeling well. Prepare. 100 meters to ground.
100 meters to go, the crew being told to brace for touchdown.
Object getting close to touchdown. Object
touchdown. Touchdown confirmed at 6:17 a.m. Central Time. Rubio's record ride comes to an end as he, Prokopyev, and Petelin return to Earth after a 371-day, 157 million-mile journey at the International Space Station. The third longest flight ever in human spaceflight history is over with a pinpoint landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan.
Altai, Search and recovery here, how do you read? Okay, all good.
Once again, Soyuz MS-23 has landed on the steppe of Kazakhstan. A bullseye touchdown for the 3 crew members, Frank Rubio, Sergei Prokopiev, and Dmitry Petelin.
409, how do you read? 249.
Landing occurring as planned at 6:17 a.m. Central Time, 7:17 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:17 p.m. at the landing site that you're seeing right now in our live view.
I believe so. Let it get a bit
About an hour
closer.
and 53 minutes before sunset.
$952 is on the ground.
The Russian Mi-8 helicopters are now descending
What is the
in
vertical
sequential
position?
fashion to
Let go
arrive
to the right.
in the vicinity of the spacecraft. You can see one of those helicopters in view. The all-terrain vehicles will be moving toward the spacecraft as well, repositioning themselves to enable us to get video of the recovery process, the extraction of the crew, and the crew will be placed in reclining chairs next to the Soyuz MS-23 for a few minutes to regain their equilibrium before they're carried in those chairs to a nearby inflatable medical tent where they will doff their Sokol launch and entry suits, get into more comfortable flight clothing, and then make their way with the assistance of recovery personnel to 3 helicopters, 1 for each crew member, for a 2-hour flight back to the staging city of Karaganda.
K1, K2.
At that point, Rubio and his 2 crewmates will split up. Rubio will board a NASA jet to fly back to Houston. Prokopiev and Petelin will board a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft to fly back to their training base at Star City, Russia, outside of Moscow.
Надевал. For 77, I will circle one more time. Okay. Go a little bit further, 49.
In this view, you can see Russian Mi-8 helicopters landing in the vicinity of the spacecraft that's just out of the field of view. The all-terrain vehicle that carries this television equipment that you saw the landing from will be repositioning itself a short time from now and make its way to the Soyuz as it documents for us, and hopefully we will be seeing the extraction of the crew and the crew being placed in those reclining chairs by the capsule.
$178 of landing in its place.
At the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside Moscow, the Russian words Jest Posadka, they've landed, and a greeting welcoming Frank Rubio back after his record-setting mission for an American astronaut of 371 days in space.
Группа села и
409, checking coordinates.
47 градусов, 16 минут.
47 degrees, 16 minutes, 47 seconds.
49 минут, 39 секунд.
1 minute, 39 seconds. This 240. I'm following 49.
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, you're looking at video from the landing site in Kazakhstan, where the Soyuz MS-23 touched down just 9 minutes ago. The Russian Mi-8 helicopters have landed in the vicinity of the spacecraft. They will soon approach the spacecraft to begin the process of opening up the hatch and extracting the crew. Touchdown occurred right on time at 6:17 a.m. Central Time, 7:17 a.m. Eastern Time.
24 bias.
95 409.
95
95 409. Объект
409.
тоже наблюдаем. ТМки уже недалеко.
Object is close by.
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, the greeting on the front screen of the Russian Mission Control Center, welcoming home Sergei Prokopiev, Dmitry Petelin, and Frank Rubio after their 371-day mission. Touchdown occurred about 13 minutes ago at 6:17 a.m. Central Time, 7:17 a.m. Eastern Time. It was a pinpoint return for the crew, landing just as planned about 90 miles southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan. The Russian search and recovery forces, the Russian Mi-8 helicopters, have landed to begin the process of extracting the crew from the Soyuz. All of the events beginning with hatch closure late last night Central Time, followed by the undocking of the Soyuz from the International Space Station's Prishal module at 2:54 a.m. Central Time this morning, and the deorbit burn that occurred several hours later. All of those events went by the book. No issues whatsoever. Sergei Prokopiev reporting to the search and recovery forces in the final minutes before touchdown that the crew was feeling well and ready for their return to Earth. This is Mission Control in Houston. We're still waiting for video from the spacecraft at the landing site. The search and recovery forces are there. They are beginning the work to extract the crew from the spacecraft. So far, we do not have video alongside the spacecraft itself. The video resources at the landing site have to be repositioned from where they were to show us the touchdown that occurred about 18 minutes ago. And this video now, courtesy of Roscosmos, showing Soyuz commander Sergei Prokopyev having been helped out of the Soyuz MS-23 spacecraft. Once again, this video courtesy of Roscosmos. Sergei Prokopyev, who was strapped into the center seat of the descent module of the Soyuz spacecraft, always the first out. He'll be followed by his two crewmates here shortly. Touchdown occurred just 20 minutes ago at 6:17 a.m. Central Time, 7:17 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:17 p.m. at the landing site. The crew home after 371 days in space, the third longest space flight in history, and of course for Frank Rubio, the longest single space flight by an American astronaut.
So did you realize that you are finally on the ground? It has been more than a year. So the result is the main thing. Just perfect, just ideal. The overload was 4.5, greater than last time. So wet. I'll take care of you. All good. I'll just stay here, take care of you too. Don't turn, just stay where you are. Don't jump. And we have seen all your greetings on Air Force anniversary. Yes, and we also worked with veterans of soccer teams here. Exactly. He has not changed at all. You look the same as when we were sending you off to space. So the data is ready.
Prokopyev exchanging greetings with Some of the members of the search and recovery forces happy to see him for the first time in over a year. And from the view we just had, it appeared as if the Soyuz was pulled over onto its side,
Congratulations.
as opposed to being upright.
Thank you. Easy, easy. Check the arm. Check the cables. Careful. Easy.
Frank Rubio, the U.S. record holder for the longest single space flight in history, back on Earth.
Here you are. Don't fall. Very nice to see you. So great. We're all here. All went well. All the tasks completed. So we performed all the program and performed additional tasks.
Field test?
What about the field test? No, we're not going to have a field test now, but tomorrow we'll have a Sozvezdia constellation experiment that is going to be an interesting experiment on controlling manual descent. Thank you.
Stand by. Pulse stops here. Finishes that up. I'll give
Иди подсидь вот сюда и потом будет говорить. 97. Оттуда, сбоку. Вот сбоку туда. Вот и говори.
Your foot this way.
Hello, Frank.
Great, thank you.
Great. You are,
Good to be back.
you were the doctor on the crew, mate. How is in the space? How is your mate?
Fantastic. Yeah, everybody did really well.
You look very well.
Thank
very
you.
well.
Thank you. It's good to be home. Thank you. It's good to be home.
Thank you.
Once again, the view from the landing site, right by the Soyuz MS-23. Frank Rubio on the left, Sergei Prokopiev on the right.
Check the arm on the right side.
And Dmitry Petelin now being removed from the Soyuz spacecraft.
Easy, easy here. Turn. Legs. Turn back. Remove cables. Little higher. Move him a bit higher.
Frank Rubio receiving congratulations there from Joel Montalbano, the International Space Station Program Manager, who along with NASA's Chief Astronaut Joe Acaba, part of the NASA team on site.
Come on, Joe. Серега!
Sergey?
And a view of the Soyuz MS-23 spacecraft that touched down 28 minutes ago at 6:17 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, drink a little bit. Hold it. Everything is in due time.
Can we actually cut a little
We're here in the steppe of Kazakhstan.
Sergei Prokopyev, the commander of Expedition 69 and the Soyuz commander for the landing today, comes home after 2 flights in space and a total of 568 days, putting him 12th on the all-time list for most days in space by a human being. And there are technicians who are gathering up the parachute that deployed about 15 minutes before touchdown.
Still a bit dirty, that happens. All good. Do you want me to comb your hair?
Меня слышно? Слышно, Миша?
Да, слышно.
Ну я отрываю и говорю, идет к тебе.
Я в прошлый раз когда начал колбасить? Полегче. Пораньше.
После филтеста.
А также термочечная только не было, да? Нормально, ничего удара не было.
Такой.
Приложила?
So you had it was a bump, so you did feel it.
This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to receive video from the landing site in south central Kazakhstan. On the right, Sergei Prokopyev, the Soyuz commander and the commander of Expedition 69, which came to an end with the undocking of the Soyuz MS-23 this morning at 2:54 a.m. Central Time, 3:54 a.m. Eastern Time. Expedition 70 began. Prokopyev handing over command of the International Space Station to European Space Agency astronaut Andy Mogensen. Expedition 70 now well underway and will continue through the course of the fall time frame until Mogensen returns to Earth next spring with Crew 7.
At about 300 meters, CAM was established again. At that time, we also acquired visual. All normal, all good. Did you see us at the main chute? Yes, at about 800 we saw you already. You were not responding, but we were able to see you already. All great, all normal. Good numbers. 140 to 90. Don't scream over there.
Так, слышно меня? Ты сунул рацию, это крути. Ну да,
The next step for the 3 returning crew members, they'll be, as you look at the all-terrain vehicles that are on site, the 3 crew members will be carried in those chairs into a nearby inflatable medical tent to doff their Sokol launch and entry suits, get into more comfortable flight clothing, and then they'll be transported in those ATVs to 3 awaiting Russian Mi-8 helicopters to take off for a 2-hour flight back to the staging city of Karaganda to the northeast of the landing site.
Didn't get any bigger.
Соленые огурцы выбирай.
And maybe you want some pickles. Oh yeah. Maybe some succulent pork. That would be nice. Well, not right now, in about a week.
Мы тебе позвоним, дадим в палаточке потом. С женой свяжешься, да?
So then at the tent, you will talk to your wife, okay?
The landing occurred about an hour and 53 minutes before sunset at the landing site. You can see the sun beginning to fade on the horizon. On the left in the left side of your screen is Dr. Joe Schmidt, who is Rubio's attending flight surgeon, and on the right is the NASA nurse Yana Shelopova.
And then once we got all baked up, I couldn't reach him. So, I'd rather not be. I mean, it doesn't feel terrible.
Он арбуз не шут.
Okay, they're bringing the watermelon for you.
Ну, несите. Чищенный арбуз.
Make sure you clean it from the seeds. Okay, good.
Как раз арбуз.
Как раз с арбуза.
Oh, rada watermelon. Good evening. I am the commander of the search and recovery helicopter. So my apologies if we had to wait a little bit. But from all of us, we would like to give you this, the fruit of the earth. Oh, I can smell it now. Thank you. Sergey.
And Dmitry Patelin, who was board engineer number 1. He and Prokopiev conducted 6 spacewalks during their time on board the International Space Station.
As they should have. What did you bring from space?
Хорошее настроение.
Good mood.
В личных вещах у меня были
And in my personal
кольца, крестики.
items, I had all the rings and crosses that I took with me.
Да, это что-то зеленое.
This is something
Забыл, как
green. I
называется.
forgot what it feels like.
Но арбуз я заказывал.
I did request the watermelon in advance, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's move it a little bit closer. Closer to the center.
Да, да, обязательно. Дмитрий, что больше всего ждали? Вот.
Dmitry,
Да, все-таки ожидал возвращения этих крайне.
you've been there for a year. Yes, I was expecting to be here half a year before, and we've been waiting impatiently to get back.
знал, чего ожидать, как это будет.
And it was my first landing. I didn't know what to expect exactly. Today I felt it
Всю прелесть
to the
гравитации.
fullest, the loads and gravity. What did you bring to your
Много чего
daughters
сувениров
from
есть, и сувениры. Ну, много не
space?
привезешь,
I
конечно,
brought
так.
souvenirs,
Фотографии, рисунки
photos,
детские, да, которые мне доставили на
images
прогрессе. Вот, так что
that
с
were
нетерпением жду встречи.
brought to me by Progress vehicle.
Сейчас в ближайшее время проходить какие-то эксперименты.
Are you going to follow some experiments right now as you returned as an operator?
Ну, планируем, да, планируем.
Like,
Эксперимент
we are
созвездия, это
planning
такая
constellation
работа с
Созвездие
компандой,
experiments that is with a suit and using the
все по состоянию здоровья.
arm, but that will depend on
Очень хотелось бы.
physically is possible.
Спасибо вам большое.
Thank you very much.
The crew members being presented with fruit at the landing site
For you.
and matryoshka dolls.
We can open it.
Дмитрий.
Dmitry. For you. That is a heavy one. A heavy wooden doll, matryoshka.
Огромный привет Кустанаю, да.
Thank you and greetings to Kustanai friends. Now pilots. For a photo, they stand in the back.
Those matryoshka dolls bearing the images of each of the three crew members being presented to them by members of the search and recovery forces.
I'm taking pictures of everybody. All perfect. Very good.
The Soyuz landed 40 minutes ago at 6:17 a.m. Central Time, 7:17 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:17 p.m. at the landing site. The crew was quickly extracted, placed in these reclining chairs for an opportunity to regain their equilibrium. They'll be carried in those chairs a short time from now into a nearby inflatable medical tent where they will doff their Sokol launch and entry suits, get into more comfortable flight clothing, receive medical exams, and then be flown on three individual helicopters 2 hours to the staging city in Karaganda, Kazakhstan, where they'll split up. Rubio boarding a NASA jet to fly back to Houston. Prokopiev and Patelin boarding a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft to fly back to their home base, their training base at Star City, Russia.
Pick up the blanket.
Prokopiev, thumbs up, being moved toward that medical tent.
Hooray! Welcome. Welcome back.
Андрей, шаг.
So with that, the 3 crew members being brought into the medical tent at the landing site following their pinpoint touchdown to complete a 371-day, 157 million mile mission, the longest spaceflight by an American astronaut, Frank Rubio, the 3rd longest spaceflight in history. As we mentioned, the crew members were quickly extracted from the Soyuz MS-23 that landed on time, on target, and are now being brought into the nearby medical tent. And there's a view of Frank Rubio with Joe Acaba and the rest of the NASA team helping bring him into the medical tent. In the back, you see ISS program manager Joel Montalbano. The crew will get out of those Sokol launch and entry suits. They'll put on comfortable flight clothing and prepare for their helicopter flight back to Karaganda, Kazakhstan, and eventually their trip back to their respective hometowns. Rubio coming to Houston, Prokopiev and Petelin coming to Star City, Russia. So with that, the crew is now back in the medical tent. Medical exams in store for them as they have landed after more than a year in space, the 3rd longest space flight in history, a successful end to an eventful mission that was extended by 6 months, but ended in great fashion with a bullseye touchdown on the steppe of Kazakhstan. Frank Rubio, Sergei Prokopiev, Dmitry Petelin, safely back on Earth. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for tonight and this morning. We thank you for joining us throughout the night. Stay tuned for more to come on the ventures of the Expedition 70 crew aboard the International Space Station. But for now, we'll bid you a good morning from Mission Control in Houston.